Good evening and welcome to News 9. I'm Nolan Pinto. Well, we have some big news coming in now. Voting ends in all constituencies across Karnataka and 11 other states. This is the big news that we're now tracking. Voting ends in all constituencies across Karnataka and 11 other states. Several last-minute voters turned away by election officials. Well, this is the big news that we are voting ends in all constituencies across Karnataka and 11 other states. Several last-minute voters turned away by election officials. Finally, the day that we were all waiting for is over. Voting started at 6 in the morning. Beg your pardon. Voting started at 7 in the morning and got over now. In fact, several last-minute voters were turned away by election officials. Started at 7 in the morning. People were seen, queuing up at election booths in order to cast their votes before the sun could actually create havoc. Now, it was a little bit less in the afternoon, but again in the evening it started to spike up with a lot more last-minute voters coming out there. However, last-minute voters were turned away by election officials. Well, now let's take a look at the voter turnout that was in Bengaluru. Well, in fact, in Bangalore North, the voter turnout percentage till about 5 p.m. was about 49%. Bangalore South till 5, it was 47%. And Bangalore Central, it was 50. The halfway mark was touched till about 5 p.m. Now, this percentage could go about, Bangalore's rural is about 65%. They had crossed the 50% mark by 3 itself. Now, overall, Karnataka, the voting percentage is about 60%. In fact, it's pretty less. Bangalore North, 49%. Bangalore South, 47%. Bangalore Central, about 50%. Now, when compared to last time around, Bangalore Central has actually done quite well. It was in its 44-45% last time around. It's now 50%. Bangalore Rural, 65.3%. And like it's always the rural areas, you see people coming out to vote in larger numbers than people in urban areas. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by my colleague Harish. Harish, looking at Bangalore, that is Bangalore North, South, Central and Bangalore Rural, clearly shows that people in rural areas have actually come out to cast their votes in much larger numbers than the urban areas.
Well, it's the same case every election. And you see a higher percentage in rural areas in every election, whether it's assembly election or the Lok Sabha election. And it's no different this time around. You have Bangalore Rural, which has got 65.29%. But the big disappointment of this election in Karnataka is Bangalore, Nolan. Look at the kind of percentages that the three main constituencies in Bangalore have got. Bangalore North has recorded 49%. Remember, these are voting percentages for 5 o'clock. There's 1 hour of voting that has happened, which we'll get. The percentages will be uploaded or will be updated in a short while from now. Even at 5 o'clock, Bangalore North has 49%, Bangalore South has 47%, marginally better than what Bangalore South had managed in the last Lok Sabha election, and Bangalore Central has 50%. So really, the voting percent hovering around 50% at 5 o'clock. And overall, it said the state has recorded 60%, largely because of the rural areas. The state percentage is looking good, but Bangalore definitely a big disappointment, Nolan.
Now, when compared to last time around, Harish, what can we say? Was 2009 better or 2014 better?
It depends on whether you are looking at the state percentage or specific constituency percentage.
Let's talk about Bangalore.
If you're looking at Bangalore, then Nolan, definitely it's a marginal improvement, but nothing to cheer about. Look at Bangalore South, which recorded 44 odd percentage last time around, has recorded 47% till 5 o'clock. So it will see a marginal increase for the 1 hour of voting between 5 to 6, but nothing great for Bangalore to boast about. It will still be around 50% when you have cities like Delhi and other cities and several other areas in Northeast which have clocked nearly 70% of polling. Bangalore will still have 50%, which means whichever candidate who gets elected is not really a major popular choice as such, with only a 50% of electorate coming out to vote, Nolan.
Harish, talking about Bangalore Central per se, last time around it was a new constituency that was carved and they managed about what, 44, 45, and this time it's 50%. So something better, something to cheer.
Yes, as I told you, Nolan, it's a marginal increase, no major sweep or no major increase as such that was expected. Remember, in the last 1.5 to 2 years, the entire country and the city has seen several major events that kind of gave a sense that there was almost an awakening of sorts in the electorate, and there will be a better percentage. People expected that it will be around 70%, but look at the percentage that we have seen in Bangalore Central. It's 50%. This is a constituency that has large parts of what is known as the central business district and some of the posh areas where it's perceived that educated people live, but still you have such abysmal voter turnout, Nolan.
Right, Harish, thank you very much for all that information. Well, moving on, Election Commission's officials today managed to foil attempts by bogus voters to cast votes on behalf of other citizens. Now, while one such bogus voter was caught in Kyarpuram, there was another whose attempt was foiled in Basveshwanagar. Now, in Basveshwanagar, a man tried to vote on behalf of a man named Lohit, but was caught by officials before he could cast the vote on the EVM. Ironically, the actual voter on whose behalf the culprit had tried to vote had to later bring with him a load of documents to prove his identity, was finally allowed to vote in the end. In fact, election officials today managed to foil attempts by bogus voters to cast votes on behalf of other citizens. When one such bogus voter was caught in Kyarpuram, there was another whose attempt was foiled in Basveshwanagar. Now, what really happened in Basveshwanagar is that a man tried to vote on behalf of a man named Lohit, but he was caught by officials before he could cast his vote on the EVM. Ironically enough, the actual voter on whose behalf the culprit had tried to vote had to later bring with him a load of documents in order to prove his identity. He was finally allowed to vote. Here's a quick look at what happened throughout the day. Now, all the candidates from Bengaluru cast their votes today. There you can see Nandan Nilekini, you have Neena Nayak, Aam Aadmi Party's Balakrishnan, Ruth Manorama, PC Mohan, the incumbent MP from Bangalore Central, Anand Kumar, the incumbent MP from Bangalore South. In fact, most of the candidates prefer to come quite early in the day in order to cast their votes, and all of them came out with a victory sign stating that they will come out victorious.
Thank you, sir.
Now, even celebrities were not far behind. Several stars came out to cast their votes early in the morning, but few like Sudeep and Darshan cast their votes later on in the day. Well, you can see right there on the top of your screen, top left, that is, Yash who did not bother to stand in the queue, barged in like a VIP, went, cast his vote and left the polling booth. Pranita Subhash was another celebrity who actually stood in the queue in order to cast a vote. Ramesh Arvind, you can see there. Bharti Vishnuvardhan, there was Ganesh, Jagesh. All were present today in order to cast their votes. Well, in fact, in Pranita's case, there was a problem with the EVM. This is what we are told. So she came, waited, we are told, and later went home. She once more came, that is when the EVM was said to be working, cast her vote and left. Like any normal citizen of the country, even though she's a Sandalwood star, everyone's worried about their vote. Now, even though the EVM was not working, she went home. She did not leave it as such. She decided to come back later on in the day and cast her vote. But what was heartwarming was to see the number of senior citizens coming in large numbers to cast their votes. They certainly set a fine example for the Youngistan of the city. Well, there you can see in Jayanagar, a lady using a walker over there in order to reach the polling booth. In the center of your television screen in Koramangala, you can see a person being brought in a wheelchair. Now, no matter how old they are, they have all decided that they will come out and take part in voting. In fact, people aged 105 and 103 also came out to cast their votes. Now, the Election Commission has stated that every single Indian's duty it is to cast their votes. It is our duty to come out and vote. Now, if we do not vote, then we cannot grumble or complain. Now, these people have actually set a fine example for the youngsters who most of the time do not come out and vote. And we have seen what's the percentage in Bangalore itself. Bangalore Central had about 50% voter turnout. Bangalore Rural, on the other side, a rural area filled with villages, people came out to vote in large numbers when compared to the urban areas. They recorded about 65%. Well, a woman who just gave birth made it in time to cast a vote before the deadline ends in Malleshwaram. Well, if she can do it, then surely you guys can vote as well.